Alright, hey there everybody, welcome back to Family Retro Gaming. I am so sorry for the few month long hiatus I've been on, but I'm back now, and I did want to thank you guys for 80 subscribers. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy the content that comes out in the future. So, without further ado, we have the update of the Nintendo Handheld collection. Now last year, it started off as a 3DS collection and it exploded. So, without further ado, again, here we go. I'm going to start you off with the DMG Game Boy. This came out in 1989. It's a brick of a console. When it came out, it was only this gray color with red buttons. And I got no game in it, no big deal. But this ran off of 4 AA batteries, and we're going to remember that for later. 4 AA batteries. It had a volume slider on the side, and it had contrast. So I could show you the contrast without a game in it. With the contrast, it would just get dark or get really light, and you'd have to adjust it as needed to focus it in. Now this green color is terrible, I know, and it had ghosting problems, so when games are moving really quick it would blur in and out. But the Game Boy Pocket came along next and solved a lot of the problems of the DMG. First, you'll see how much smaller it actually is side by side. You can see just how much smaller it is. Whereas the DMG ran with 4 AA batteries, this runs off of 2 AAA batteries. So you're going to be saving money on batteries. It also gets rid of the nasty green color. This is more of a gray and black instead of green and black. This screen takes care of the ghosting problem of the original DMG, so any fast movement games you could play more pleasurably, and it'll fit in your pocket. Like I said, it's a lot smaller, runs off of 2 AAAs. So these are the Game Boys. Now 1998 came along with a system called the Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Color, what it did different was it added color. So we'll see it here. This Game Boy has been modded. I bought a housing that glows in the dark. I also put a front light mod in it. The front light mod kind of got messed up. You'll see there's spidering in the corner and there was a speck of dust underneath the screen. You have to be really careful when you put these front light mods on. It also has the atomic purple buttons, and it has the atomic purple start and select. But it's pretty cool. I like how the whole thing glows in the dark. The one problem I did notice when you put in headphones or when you turn the volume up real loud, it has a kind of like a whining sound. But this was the Game Boy Color. Moving along to 2001 came the Game Boy Advance. Now in terms of Game Boys, this is probably the most comfortable one to play because it's horizontal. It fits most people's hands. It adds a L and R button, and this also runs off of 2 AA batteries, and it plays 16-bit Game Boy Advance games. The only thing this didn't have was a backlight or front light, so you still have to play this with a flashlight at nighttime, which kind of was a bummer, but they solved this problem. I think 2003 or 4 came out the Game Boy Advance SP001. Now the 001 had a front-lit screen only, but it was still a step up from the Game Boy Advance. So you could turn the light off or on, and you didn't need a flashlight, which was awesome. And also, instead of buying AA batteries or AAA batteries, it added rechargeable batteries. It kept the L and the R buttons, the volumes on the side, start, select, A, B, directional pad, and this was a huge step up from the original Game Boy Advance, but it was still just a little bit too small for your hands. I don't have it, but after this came out the Game Boy Advance SP101, which had a backlight screen, which was a much better screen. Now in 2004, we got the original DS. You'll hear this called the DS Fat. And we have this electric blue one right here. This came with a power button right here. Start select, A, B, X, Y, directional. Got the L and the R buttons. You'll notice a top screen and a bottom screen. The bottom screen is touch activated, so you could take out your stylus here. Touch screen to continue. There's picture chat, DS download, play, so you could download someone else's game and play it with them. Then on the top screen you have the DS card slot, and on the bottom screen you could also play Game Boy Advance games. So that was a really cool feature. It was kind of a transition period for Nintendo. They didn't know if they wanted to get rid of the Game Boy, so they kept the Game Boy Advance slot. So your library of games is effectively doubled at that point. So this is the DS Fat, or the original DS. Next came along was the Nintendo DS Lite. And as you can see here, I have a Game Boy Advance game in the bottom, and it sticks out on this one. I'll actually go back to the original one to show you. On the original, it fits in flush. So it was kind of nice to have it flush on the original one. But the DS Lite sticks out the bottom. Alright, so we'll open it up. Same thing, top screen, bottom screen. Bottom screen is, you know, you can touch to, you know, it's a touch screen. The power button is not a on off, like a click on, click off. It's just a swipe up and a swipe down. Alright, and as you can see here, the original DS only had an on and off, just like the Game Boy Advance SP with the light. This has different settings for the light. So dim, brighter, brighter. They call this kill mode, and then back to dim. Alright, but it's the same layout as the original DS. You got your DS slot here, your Game Boy Advance slot, DS download, play, picto chat, you know, brightness, settings. Alright, so that's the DS Lite right here. Moving right along came the DSi. Now this came out in late 2008, 2009-ish, and right now I'm actually playing Chrono Trigger in this. But this added a camera, as you can see on the front. The picture quality was terrible, but for 2008 that was pretty big, and you could edit photos too. So this is before, you know, Snapchat and iPhones and stuff, so for you to take a picture and edit it in all sorts of different ways, that was pretty big for the time. The DS Lite also did not have a volume slider. It had a volume rocker, so you can't really fine-tune your volume. It's just up, 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 or down, 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 down. And it also took away the Game Boy Advance slot. So that's kind of a bummer, but the picture quality on this, I think, is better than the other two, the previous two, by far. The next one after this is the DSi XL. I don't have one of them just yet, but I do plan on getting one in the future. But this is our magenta fuchsia colored DSi. So after the DSi's, we move on to the 3DS. This is a midnight purple 3DS right here. We recently picked this one up. I had purchased one of these back in 2011, right when it first came out, for $250. After like 6 months, they weren't selling enough of these, so they cut the price by $100. And anybody who purchased a 3DS got 20 free games, 10 Game Boy Advance and 10 Super Nintendo games. And it was called the Ambassador Program. Since then I sold that Aqua Blue 3DS, and now we have this Midnight Purple. It's fairly clean. It only plays 3DS and Nintendo DS games. So your library of games is huge. The 3D on the original ones was not that great. If you moved so much as a couple of inches out of view, the 3D would get all distorted. But I do like the form factor of this one. I like the check out this stylus. It telescopes in and out, so you know, people got different size hands. It's great for them. And I like the smaller feel. The XL is just a little bit too bulky, I think. So this is the original 3DS. And moving right along into this 3DS XL. This is the Pokemon X and Y release date edition. See, it's got Chestnut, Fennekin, and F.R.G on the back. This kind of kept some of the same problems as the original 3DS. The one thing it did better was it moved the stylus to the side. I've made mention in previous videos that, you know, people that are right-handed, this is nice and easy. Instead of having to reach along the back, pop it out, it's right here. You just pull it out, boom, do what you gotta do, put it back in. The start, home, and select buttons on this are now individual buttons. On that one, they were all one bar. But still, the 3D kind of got all distorted when it was on this. And they'll correct that in future products, and we'll get to that here shortly. After this came out, parents were complaining that their children were having to go see eye doctors more frequently because of using the 3D option. So Nintendo said, alright, we're going to solve this problem by giving you a product called the 2DS. This took away any 3D options that were available. It also took away the hinge. But I believe that this is the most comfortable handheld that Nintendo has probably created, in my opinion. They call it the doorstop, the wedge. If you look at it as a side profile, it's kind of got like a wedge shape or a doorstop shape. This one specifically, I took apart multiple DS's and kind of put it together. This used to be a white and red 2DS, and I've taken it and put black hardware on it, so now it's white and black. But it keeps the stylus on the side. It only has one speaker. I'd say that's a downside, but headphones can fix that. Yeah, it's pretty durable too. The 2DS is really durable. So we have the white and black one. This was a Black Friday Link edition. It's got yellow buttons, brown trim, and a green front and back here. Then the one you all know and love, the Super Mario Maker 2DS. You know, it's got the yellow front and back. It's got brown trim and also red. It's got brown and red. Brown stylus. Super Mario Maker on the back, which is really cool. It also has a little 8-bit Mario on the front. So that is our 2DS's. After the 2DS came out, we have the new 3DS XL here in America. This was the next one that came out. This one is the Galaxy style, and we have a gold Pikachu case on it. I'll show you that. Kind of see it. I'll open it up one more. I thought that was pretty cool. The inside is kind of like a blue color. For the 3DS XL, the new 3DS XL, pardon me, added a C-stick, which is more like a pencil eraser. And it, okay, alright Kirby. And it also added a ZR and ZL buttons, which came in handy for games like Monster Hunter Ultimate and Super Smash Brothers. You could have grab and shield right next to each other. So it's kind of cool to add the extra buttons. This also did something where it corrected the 3D. Right now the 3D will track your face so it'll stay in focus no matter where you are in view of the camera. The one thing it did wrong, in my opinion, was it took your stylus and moved it down here instead of on the side. So when you're playing, you can't just whip it out. You gotta kind of move your hand. So that is the Galaxy style. We also have the Samus edition. This came out pretty close to when Samus Metroid Returns, or Samus Returns, I mean Metroid Samus Returns. You see Samus is on the front and the back. It's kind of like the color of her suit there. There's nothing fancy on the inside, it's just black. But nonetheless, this is a GameStop, I believe, exclusive. And then the other one we have here in this crazy cool case, it's called Dream Gear case. It's really comfy. It adds grip to it, comfort grip. Can't forget the comfort grip. And this is a black 3DS right here. This is my wife's. So, but this case is phenomenal. It's real comfy. Moving on to the next handheld that came out in America, and it only came out in special editions here, was the new 3DS. So this one was a Black Friday Super Mario one. They came in white and black. It's kind of hard to tell, I guess, on camera, but you can see there's different Mario designs here, and the same thing on the back. So what this one did different was it's a lot smaller, but in my opinion this is way more comfortable. The only thing is I work outside a lot, my hands get dirty, so I'm kind of scared to play this one without like really scrubbing my hands thoroughly, because I don't want it to turn yellow. But this changed the buttons to red, yellow, blue, and green here, like the whole button instead of just the letters on the new 3DS XL. And the stylus was still kept on the bottom, and they shrunk it a little bit. It's kind of smaller, but this is probably, I'd say, my favorite 3DS model for sure. This one right here. It keeps the C stick and the ZL and ZR buttons. And if you could get your hands on one of these, I would highly recommend it. Now moving on, we have the Nintendo new 2DS XLs. This one here is my wife's. It is a black and teal, I'd say, and I really like the colors on this one. I've made mention of that before. Now the 2DS shrunk the stylus even more. This one's actually missing, I don't know where that went. But the stylus is a lot smaller, I'll show you that. The top screen is extremely fragile. It is paper thin. And on top of the screen being paper thin, there is no metal back to it. So in terms of breaking the top screen, that is the most common issue with the new 2DS XL. I would not recommend getting this for a small child. If you're going to buy a 3DS model for a small child, I would recommend the original 2DS for sure. But nonetheless, you know, this is the new 2DS XL. The speakers are on the bottom. It's kind of hard. I'll show you on the Pokeball one. You got a Pokeball one here. The speakers are on the bottom. That's the speaker there. That's the speaker there. Like I said, the stylus is like mini short here. It's not even that big. It's a little stub. And but it keeps and retains the C stick and the ZL and ZR buttons. And the one thing I would like to say about the new 2DS XL is they have come out with a lot of cool special editions, both here in North America and overseas in Europe and Japan. So right here we have the Pokeball edition one. They came out with a Pikachu edition one, and we also have the Hylian Shield edition one here. And all the design is raised. You can see it. It's really nice. Nice blue with silver. It's just really neat, but you really need to be careful with this top screen. So this right now is my Nintendo handheld collection. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until another year of collecting, thank you for watching and thanks for the subscription. Alright guys, I'll see you. Bye.